All right, welcome to this segment, the spiritual mindset class. And this is the second episode of the spiritual mindset class. Hopefully, at some point, we get to use count. So, in today's section, we're talking about how to master your gift. How to master your gift. All right, so in our first section, we talked about the greatest gift. The greatest gift. And I said that if you lack awareness of what your greatest gift is, you will struggle between two things, two realities. The first is you'll have series of disappointments in your life. And then the second is no matter what is given to you, because you lack awareness in your greatest gift, you will lack contentment and satisfaction. You will never feel satisfied. And this is because regardless of the material things, the cars, the gift that is given to you, regardless of what is given to you, if your happiness is drawn from that external factor, from that external gift, it will only last a while. And then you realize that you're in the constant hustle of trying to fill in a void in you to feel good. So there is never satisfaction. There is never contentment. It's either you struggle with that, or you always have reasons to feel disappointed in yourself. And this is what happens when you lack awareness in your greatest gift. So the question then becomes, what is your greatest gift? What is your greatest gift? And before I dived into that, I did mention that there are three time zones. Three time zones. The three time zone. We have the past, you have the present, you have the future. In the past, you have feelings such as regrets. You notice that each time you keep thinking about the past, each time you live in the past, you have feelings like regrets. And if you're not struggling with regrets, you're struggling with an emotional saboteur like shame, anger, and in some cases, maybe trauma. These are feelings that are associated with the past. And then for the future, if you're always in the future, always thinking of things in the future, you have feelings such as anxiety. When you begin to think of how will you do this, how will you do that, activities in the future that you cannot control, you also realize that you feel overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed in the process. Another feeling could be confusion, which I also like to call lack of clarity. I remember one time, I remember I gave this example that there was one time I had so many ideas in my heart. I had different business ideas I wanted to go into, but I didn't know exactly how to start. I didn't know exactly what to do. The fear of how would I accomplish all of this without failing? How would I successfully accomplish these projects? The thought of failing in this business was an issue for me. These are experiences in the future. Just the thought of it alone made me feel overwhelmed. And I remembered that particular day I was going to the gym. As soon as I got to my door, I lost all my energy. I was so weak. I went down to my bed, fell down, and I was weeping. I was weeping. Why? Because I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. And I had this feeling, this strong feeling of overwhelm, because I was paying attention to the things that I couldn't control in the future. And then we have the present. The present is where you have a more divine feeling. The present is where you have a more divine feeling, where nothing really changes. And I mentioned that in the cosmic film strip of the entire universe, everything that has happened in your past and everything that is happening now and everything that will come to happen in the future has already played out. It has already been written down. What does that mean? It means that God has already designed your life from birth to death. So if you key into this understanding, you realize that there is no such thing as changes. But our brain somehow has to look for a way to differentiate yesterday from today. And this is why psychologists and philosophers define time as the measurement of change. So time is the measurement of change. And what is this change? The difference between yesterday's experience from today's experience. And then there's an analysis of yesterday's experience, today's experience, to determine what will happen in the future. But in the grand scheme of things, in the cosmic film strip, when you look at the bigger picture, everything in your life from birth to death has been written down. And as a result, there is no change. Everything is present. Everything is present. Which makes time in itself, the concept of time, the concept of past and future, an illusion. And by this, I also established in our last section that the present is our greatest gift. And that present is not some ideal time. It's not some 2 a.m. It's not some 3 a.m. It's not exactly an ideal time. The present is you. And when you key into this understanding, knowing that the present is you and you are your greatest gift, you begin to really experience life for what it is. As a matter of fact, you begin to have or feel grateful more. And in the place of gratitude, you have contentment. In the place of contentment, your mind you begin to have, or your mind reconditions itself or rewires itself to a mind of abundance and not lack. And when you have a mind of abundance, guess what happens? You stop identifying problems. And when your mind doesn't see problems, your mind doesn't see challenges, because you're always in the present, you become at peace. And in the place of peace is where you experience joy. All of this are feelings that are associated with the present. What does this mean? It means that if you become attached to the present, you begin to experience more positive feelings such as gratitude, such as joy, such as peace, such as contentment. Your mind rewires itself to abundance rather than lack. And this is so beautiful, because even the Bible in Hebrews chapter 13 verse 8, it says that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Which means that there is no change when it comes to God. And there is no change because He is the present. And when you understand this, you also realize that there is no change in your life. There is just you. The now is just the now. The illusion that time is passing by and there is some changes happening is an illusion. And when you give in to that present, when you become one with that present who is God, you also become the present because you are a product of that being. And as a result, you begin to experience peace, joy, contentment, gratitude in your life. But there's something I didn't mention in our last time together in the spiritual mindset class. There's something I didn't mention, and that is a theory I call the flip the coin. I want you to get this. Joshua, I want you to get this. There's a theory called the flip the coin theory. The Holy Spirit taught me this. What does this theory say? The theory says that the presence of anything, are you getting me? The presence of anything is not in the absence of the opposite nature of that thing. I say that again. That the presence of anything is not in the absence of the opposite nature of that thing. An example, the presence of evil is not in the absence of good. The presence of darkness is not in the absence of evil, and vice versa. So if you are experiencing evil in your life, it is not because good is absent. That is what you are just focused on. This place is bright and we have all lights here. It's not because darkness is absent. If I go there and switch off the light, darkness appears. True or false? It means that every blood opposite in the entire universe coexists, but you can't just focus on the two at the same time. You can't just focus on the two at the same time. You get what I'm saying? And as a result, that which has been written about you in your life that do not serve you right, that you are yet to experience in your life, can't be flipped to that which serves you right. Did you get that? I said that again. Remember I said, in your entire life, from birth to death, right? From birth to death, everything has been written down. True or false? Do you get that? From birth to death, everything has been written down. Now, I'm saying the reason why we experience changes in our life is because we live life sequentially, which means one day at a time. That's why it feels like there's changes. Meanwhile, everything is present. Are we getting it? Now, if the aspect of your life that you are yet to experience, that has been written about you, does not serve you right, it does not mean that which has been written about you that serves you right is absent. It is very much present. Please, I need you guys to get this. Josh, did you get this? Understand me? There's a theory called flip the coin theory. I want you to get this. Please, as you listen, I need you to get this, right? Welcome, Joy. I need you to get this. There's a theory I call flip the coin theory that says in the presence of anything, the presence of anything is not in the absence of the opposite nature of that thing. Right? And I said in the cosmic film strip of the entire universe, your life has been written from birth to death. So we are just experiencing life sequentially.
one day at a time, and unfolding these chapters in our lives. Right? Now, what I am saying is this. The aspect of your life that you are yet to manifest, get it? The aspect of your life that you are yet to manifest, right? That has been written down. If that thing that has been written down does not serve you right, that is not in alignment with your desire, it does not mean that that which has been written is in the absence of that which has been written that serves you right. Are you getting it? And how you get to flip one from the other, how you get to switch that which does not serve you right to that which serves you right, is how well you utilize your present. And the devil knows this. The spirit of the world knows this. Anxiety knows this. Trauma knows this. The spirit of fear and shame knows this. And this is why the goal is simple: to make you lose sight of the present, that you may focus on the things that you cannot control. And by doing that, you lose the ability to flip the things that have been written about you that does not serve you right to the things that serves you right. And if you lose that ability, what you keep experiencing in your life is negative experiences. You lose the ability to create the life that you desire. Why? Because you have lost sight of the present. Because the present is what helps you create that life that you desire. And this is why in today's episode of the spiritual mindset class, our major concern is, how do we master the present? How do we master the present? That's our major concern now. Because how you master the present is what determines how well you're able to create the life that you desire. So even that which has been written about you, if it doesn't serve you right, because of your ability and how well you have been able to master the present, you can create the life that you desire. That which has been written about you, that serves you right, can be manifested in your life. And how we do that is simple. There's a concept I call the 3 phases of love. The 3 phases of love. You can agree with me that you only gifting somebody is an act of love. True of us. Gifting someone is an act of love. True of us. True. And we gift people in order to expect at least one major thing: gratitude. If I give you a present, it constantly demands that you appreciate and show some level of gratitude. True of us. True. And you who is giving this gift, you give this gift because of love. And that is exactly how the present is. The gift is. The one who is the present, who is love, who is God, gives us that present, which is us. For we are the present. And when you understand and key into this understanding that you are the present, you would always have gratitude. You will always have reasons to be grateful. And because it is a sign of love, your ability to master this present requires you to go through the phases of love. And what are these phases? The first phase is the discovery phase. The first phase is the discovery phase. In this phase is where you want to identify whatever it is that you are experiencing or going through. You want to identify the name of the emotional impediment that you're experiencing. So identify the name. You want to identify the name. And why this is important is, I'll give us a scenario. If we go to the hospital, we are sick. If we go to the hospital, what's the first thing we do? The doctor has to run a series of tests, correct? If we must experience healing, if we must get healed from whatever ailment that we are or having or experiencing, we must run a series of tests. The essence of that test is to identify what it is that you're struggling with, what that sickness is. Because it's almost as though the moment you can identify the problem, you are halfway down resolving that problem. And then there's something somehow I've come to also understand in the spiritual realm, and that is, I don't know if you might have noticed this, please. When you know the demon you are fighting up against, or the demon you are up against, and you know the name, somehow they are terrified. I don't know if you understand that. If you are dealing with a demon, you have an attack and you are able to identify the name and you call the name of that demon, it's terrified. It will fear you. Right? It will fear you because by identifying the name, you are halfway resolving that problem. It's like going into war and not knowing who you are fighting, who your opponent is. It's like going into battle and you don't know who your enemy is. In the same way, when you need to get married or when you become one with a partner, at some point you have to discover this person. Before you say, oh, I love this woman or I love this man and I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, at some point in your life, you discover them. You didn't know them before, but all of a sudden you discovered them. And in that place of discovery, you found out their name and where they came from. True or false? True. So in the three phases of love, the first phase is the discovery, where you need to identify what is it that I'm experiencing. Is it shame? Is it fear? Give it a name. Anger. Correct. Give it a name. Whatever it is, give it a name. Identify it and give it that name. And then the second phase, which is the most powerful of them all, is the awareness phase. Before I go into this, I think one of the things people struggle with, or why they have a whole lot of emotional crisis within them, is they hate. People hate to feel their pain. And because they hate to feel the pain, they have no idea what it is they're struggling with. So when you bring before them whatever problem, you're like, hey, this thing is a problem for you. You have this, you have that. They don't want to listen. They go away. And whatever you resist persists. Whatever you resist persists in your life. This is the major problem for a lot of persons. Truly, indeed, they do not know what it is they are struggling with. And in many cases, they try to seek joy, they try to seek happiness from external factors, external experiences, from people, to fill up a void within them. Because indeed, they do not know And they do not know because they do not know how to discover that which they are struggling with. And as such, they try to draw some sense of peace or happiness from external factors, from people, from material things, in places. And that is always short-lived. So coming to awareness phase, the moment you identify the name, it brings you into the awareness phase. In the awareness phase, two things are very much important. There are two things you need to establish. The first is active listening. The second is perfect understanding. I said that again. In the awareness phase, there are two things you want to establish. There are two things you want to say about that. There are two things you might want to establish. And that is one, active listening. Two, perfect understanding. What do I mean? Let's use fear as an example. So you have fear. So let's say in the discovery phase, you've identified that what you're struggling with, right here. So what you've identified that what you're struggling with is fear. So in the awareness phase, what you want to do is you want to find out what fear has to say. That is the active listening. And you only get understanding when you listen to the fear. But the problem with us is, or the problem with many persons is, you listen and then you identify yourself with the judgment and the condemnation that fear gives to you. And this is why you go around saying, I am this, I am that, I am not enough, I'm not worthwhile, I don't fit into this, because you've identified yourself. Now, there's a difference between I am this and that, and fear says I am this. Get it? There's a difference when you say I am not good enough or I will fail, because by saying that, now you're identifying with those judgments from what fear is saying to you. There's a difference between that and saying fear says I will fail. Fear says I am not good enough. Fear says I cannot accomplish certain things, or I cannot meet up that goals. Or fear says things will not turn out well. So when you listen to what fear has to say, you write it down. It becomes what fear is saying. And you only listen, not just with your ear, but with all of your senses. And this is where the feeling, or whatever it is that you are feeling or experiencing, has to go through you. You experience it within. Sometimes it may feel so painful, heartbreaking, yes. But you want to be able to experience it. It is in the experiencing of that feeling you get to understand what that negative feeling is saying about you. That is the active listening. It is different from listening and identifying. So when people have it wrong is you listen and then you identify with it. No. You want to listen and then have it noted down. So for example, fear says I will fail. So this becomes what fear says. I will fail. I will fail. So fear is saying I will fail. And then the next thing you want to do, it distracted me. So my time remains 2 minutes. Fine, no problem. I'll round up now. The next thing I want to do is find out what love has to say. Because believe me, just as much as fear is in you, the spirit of love is also in you. I say that again. Just as much as the spirit of fear or shame, whatever negative feeling is in you, the spirit of love is also in you. Fear is dominant because you've allowed yourself to operate in fear. Why? By believing his words and carrying out his instructions. And I tell you that the same energy it took you to obey what fear has to say is the same energy to take you to obey what love has to say. So the only reason it may feel difficult to experience love is if you fail to believe that Jesus died for you. Because in John chapter 7, verse 38 and 39, it says, if you believe in me, as the scripture says, it says rivers of living water will flow from within you. But this is the best part. In verse 39, it says, by this he meant the Spirit. What Spirit? The Spirit of love. To whom those who believe in him will receive later. Why later? Because the Spirit of love was not given. And why was the Spirit of love not given? Because because Jesus had not died yet. He had not glorified himself yet. The glorification of Jesus was the death and the resurrection of Christ. So as soon as Jesus died and resurrected, the Spirit of love was given. It was released in the air. And how you get to activate that within you, how you get to be one with that love and experience that love in you is by believing that he died. Just the way you believe in fear, that makes fear in you, believe that Jesus died for you, then you have the Spirit of love. This is different from operating in love, operating in fear. Now, you operate in fear because fear speaks to you and then you carry out its actions. In the same way, you want to find out what love has to say about that same experience. And then when you carry out its actions, you begin to operate in love, not in fear. I don't know if this is making sense to you. In our life, there are experiences. In your experiences, there are emotions. Let me round this up. There are emotions in your experiences. In this experience, there are two sides. You have the spirit of the world, where you have shame, guilt, trauma, all forms of negative feeling, and then you have the spirit of God, where you have love. So your emotions are divided into two parts, the spirit of love and the spirit of the world. It's in your experiences in life. As long as you're experiencing life, you always have these two sides. It's in the air. Now, as you experience this life, whichever you choose to submit to and obey is what you will be activated in you, and that's how you keep operating in. So if you submit to fear, you will operate by fear. If you submit to love, you will operate by love and in love. Do you get it? Are you there? Are you getting it?
Yes.
Cool. Now, fear has said, I will fail. You're not operating in fear because you're choosing not to obey. What you are doing is, fear has spoken, I've written it down. Now let's find out what love has to say. You bring this to love and ask love, what do you have to say about this situation or experience? Sometimes it may take a day. Sometimes it may take a week. Sometimes it may take a month. And one of my pastors said, a man of God that I respect so much, he said to me, he said, Moses, one of the ways, he says the love of God, he said love speaks all the time. If you are willing to hear from love, he will speak to you willingly as well. However, one of the reasons why we struggle to hear his voice is because we're not familiar with his voice. We're not familiar with freedom. We humans are more familiar with judgment and condemnation. So when fear speaks to you, condemns you, you understand, and then you accept it. When shame speaks to you, you understand, and then you accept it. But when love speaks to you, you don't understand because the voice is not judgment, the voice is not condemnation. But when we allow ourselves to open our hearts and find out what love has to say about this situation, we write it down as well. And then you are left with the third phase. You are left with the third phase, which is the acceptance phase. This is the third phase. This is where you practice one of the principles of love called submission. So now you have two parts. You have the instruction from fear and you have the instruction from love. In the acceptance phase, what you just want to do is ask yourself, which of this opinion am I going to accept for myself? Which of this opinion? Because you must understand that as humans, we are vessels. And whatever instruction that you submit to, the spirit that gives that instruction is what will fill you up. And that spirit is what will influence your decision as well as your life. So you want to ask yourself, what am I submitting to? Which instruction or opinion am I taking for myself? Is it fear? Is it love? And it is in your best interest to take whatever love gives to you. And you will notice in the awareness phase, you will notice the moment love speaks to you, you find peace within. But for that peace to be sustained for a long time, even not forever, you have to go into the acceptance phase to accept what love has said about you. And this is where faith comes in. To carry out in action what has been said to you by love. When you do this, you conquer fear. When you do this, you conquer shame. When you do this, this is how you break away from trauma, all forms of negative feeling, including confusion, lack of clarity, name it. So this is how you go through, or this is how you master your present. For your present is yourself. Your present is your gift. And there is no self without love, and love is God. And in that God is life. So in essence, what we are talking about here is mastering life. In whatever situation you find yourself, you must be able to go through these three phases until you become so good at it. So when you are struggling, because we are humans, we must encounter emotional block. When you fall into that trap of emotional block and you begin to feel sad or depressed, just go through these three phases. Discovery, awareness, and acceptance. And then you come alive again. Is there any questions? Any questions? From the house? Any questions? Any question? If I'm any question? Mrs. Valeria, any question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Any question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm listening.
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. Any question?
My question is that.
Can you speak loud, please, so that they may hear you?
Okay, my question is that to that of acceptance, how long does it take before you can say you want to submit to fear, you want to submit to
So basically you're saying, how long does it take you to go through the acceptance phase to decide whether or not, to decide who you are submitting to? Is it fear or love? Or it's okay, good. So the question is, so you have someone here who asks the question, how long does it take you to go through the acceptance phase? How long does it take you to decide, am I submitting to fear or to love? Honestly, it depends on you. It depends on you. A lot of persons have gone through the awareness phase. Love has spoken to them, right? But they fail to go through the acceptance phase. And that's why they still feel stuck. Because it is one thing for love to speak to you, and you know what love has said, and it's another to actually walk in that love, to actually carry it out in action. That is you. So love can speak today, and for 2-3 years, you are still moping around, you are still struggling because you don't want to act. And that is why I mentioned faith. It is faith that enables you to carry out what love has said. Good. So we've come to the end of today's spiritual mindset class, and I'll be dropping a summary of this, and hopefully we'll be dropping a record for those of you, or for some persons who did not attend today, and for those of you who did not
attend from the very beginning. Hopefully you get to see the entire video. And if you have any questions that comes to mind after watching the video, please drop it in the group and I'll be so happy to respond to them. God bless you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Ifoma, have a good day.
Can I clap on?
Yes, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.